This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about Big Show. Meltzer would write, the Undertaker-Kane match was set up as a last-minute angle on August 14th when the WWF sent Big Show home as a disciplinary measure. There are numerous reasons involved. Management believes Show was terribly out of shape, and pushing him sets a bad example for the rest of the crew. He was sent to Louisville to get back in shape and threw up in training. He worked on a house show on August 12th in Detroit and was given Benoit as a tag partner against Undertaker and Kane in the main event, with the idea that Benoit would work most of the match and he'd only have to go in for a few spots since he wasn't ready to perform, but he still blew up very quickly. He showed up the next night in Springfield, Mass., and early in the night had back spasms and couldn't wrestle in the main event, and Albert, who had already wrestled in a 6-man tag earlier in the show, was put in the match teaming with Angle against Undertaker and Kane. Where he wound up with the most tremendous heat, though, is whether or not this is real and being wrestling, never trust anyone, is that after the show, his back spasms cleared up and he left the building just fine. He showed up the next day in Providence for Raw and they had an angle planned for him, and then his back spasms were acting up, and the decision was made to take him off the active roster and fill in for the SummerSlam spot by doing the Undertaker-Kane angle for the millionth time. There are many complaints that Show, who in many ways is a protege of Hulk Hogan, can't get away from the Hogan training and diet regimen and is obsessed with getting bigger, which is actually humorous if you think about it, which takes away from his ability to perform in the ring because he's carrying all the excess weight. With his back problems subsiding, the plan is to send him full-time for the Mark Henry treatment at OVW until his conditioning is what they would consider at acceptable levels. What do you remember about your frustrations with Big Show here?
Commitment, making a commitment to drop unneeded pounds. You know, pro wrestling is a funny business, Conrad. You know, we can say that, and Andre's a great example for this. Over the years, Andre has had a variety of heights. He's had a variety of weights, and people would believe it as a rule. You know, so I think we could say that Big Show was 7 feet tall. He weighed 500 pounds, and how are you gonna dispute it? You know, we didn't put him on scales.
Right.
So he didn't need the weight. And the fact that Paul played basketball at a high level, actually, he was very highly recruited out of high school. He was a decent athlete and a good man. He just didn't have growing up in the South, Conrad, and you and I can identify with this probably better than a lot of people. Growing up in the South, we can develop poor eating habits. Fried chicken, fried potatoes, you know, it's deep fried this and whatever. We got to have dessert. You know, I need something sweet. No, you don't. So I think the commitment for him to get into top game shape was something that I was looking to see. And I recruited Paul. Jerry Briscoe and I recruited him. He was living in Tampa. So, and I like him. I still like him, but he's got himself in a lot better shape. He's doing well with this Netflix show. Seems like I hear people talking about it. I've watched it. It's funny. It's a little sitcom. So the commitment to get into shape, he needed to do that not only for his own health and his own performance level. Paul needed to do that to show the locker room, hey, I'm committed. I'm going to get in great shape. I'm going to be a bigger asset to the company. I'm going to help all of us make more money. And that's what we were waiting for the switch to be flipped. So that was my issue there. And he just, he was surrounded by thoroughbreds. And so to keep up, you got to get along or you got to move along. And bottom line is that we were just concerned about his commitment to the business. He was making an awful lot of money, and that's good. So it wasn't a pay issue that was keeping him back. It was just his attitude about getting into great shape. And, we can't have you working only big man spots and 5-minute matches. That's not going to get it done. So that was kind of what we were waiting on. And, eventually he came around to that, but it took some soul searching moments and conversations to get that program started.
Talk to me about the back spasms incident. We've often heard in wrestling where guys, especially in the WCW era, it felt like they were I don't know, playing up their injuries a little bit to get out of work, or at least that's the perception a lot of fans and a lot of newsletter guys had. You don't really hear that attitude much in the WWF. It feels like a totally different vibe in the locker room and from management. But this is pretty much implying, hey, his back only hurts when he has to work, but he's fine as soon as the show's over. Now, that's probably not fair, but I do want to know what you remember about this incident specifically back in the day.
I think he had stress. I think he knew that he was not in great shape. I think he knew that he was going to be exposed. And I think that psychologically it wore on him. And so I think the back spasms are real. I just don't know exactly, I'm not Dr. Phil to tell you exactly why they were triggered. But I can see where he was very self-conscious about being in such poor shape. The thing about that, he's so damn big, so strong, that you have to have a talent like that be extra careful with who they're dancing with. The idea is to get in and get out without killing somebody and hurting somebody. So, that was how I looked at that deal. I'd like to think that he wasn't faking the back spasms. I don't want to believe that. I'm not going to believe that or endorse that theory. But I do think that the back spasms are there. It's just the point I would say is what caused these back spasms? Was it psychological? Could be. It could be, and very well could be. And so, but I don't. That's where you get close to a talent. You want to believe in them, and you just don't believe that somebody would have this kind of opportunity to and earn the money that he's earned and was earning. He was making $1 million a year and more. So I think that I just think that it was a psychological issue there. He had a block. It's like a golfer going into a situation where he can't hit the greens. He can't putt or whatever. It was a crazy fucking thing. So in any event, I never wanted to believe that Paul was faking it. I really didn't. So I think it was a psychological deal, but he believed he had back spasms. I believe that they existed. It's just the point is, what was the reason for the back spasm? Was the fact that he was pushing himself too hard? Did he have a back problem? What it was? I don't know. But we knew that we had to fix it, and one way to fix it was the simplest way was get some of those excess pounds off of him, up to 100 pounds. We thought that he was, he could lose 75 or 100 pounds and be just fine. But that's a whole hell of a lot easier said than done. And two guys like me and you that like to eat saying, well, Conrad, you and JR need to lose about 100. Well, that's okay. What? I don't think I can do that. So that's where I was with him. He had too big an upside to give up on. So we had to do everything that we thought we could do to get him back on track. And that's exactly what we did. And to his credit, he went to OVW and did what he needed to do. I don't think he liked it down there, but how do you come off Monday Night Raw and then go to OVW? It's a little different ball game. So that's how I look at that deal. I always have belief in the talent. I was a talent oriented guy, and I just want to get him. He would help our company to get him back in the lineup. How do we get him back in the lineup? Well, the first thing we need to do is get him in great shape. To get him in great shape, he needed to lose some pounds. So that's kind of that was the simplest way of explaining it to you.
Raw was being moved to the 11 o'clock time slot for August 28th and September 4th due to the U.S. Open coverage on the USA Network, which I know has always been a pet peeve of the company. But the day after a big pay-per-view like SummerSlam to be moved back like that, that's got to be something that really sticks in Vince's craw, does it not?
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. We've experienced some of that, some of those challenges with AEW on TNT during the NBA season. You got to find us now a little bit, the more effort we're going to, but it's anytime you're moved off your spot, you force the audience to track you down. And some people won't go to the effort. Now the diehards will, but some people just will not go to the effort to find you. So it's anytime you move off your spot, it's not good news, and there's no good time for it. But doing it the day after a major show is really especially devastating.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.